Now I would like to introduce Glenn Garvin. He is the Miami Herald's television critic. And I must say, at a personal level, boy, does he have a sense of humor. He treats each of the shows. He's incisive, he goes after them, and really says it like it is. Before taking the job in 2002, he spent 19 years as a foreign correspondent, covering mostly Latin America. A 1975 graduate of Stanford University, he's the author of Everybody Had His Own Gringo, The CIA's and the Contras, and with Ana Rodriguez, Diary of a Survivor, 19 years in a Cuban woman's prison. He lives in Coral Gables, Florida, and by his own words, is old enough to have watched the Mickey Mouse Club before Annette Funicello's t-shirt fell out.
I became the Herald's TV critic in 2002, just a couple of weeks before my 49th birthday. And I didn't honestly know a great deal about the business side of television before I took the job. And I was quickly shocked to learn that I was on the verge of Nielsen irrelevance. After my first year as TV critic, I passed out of the demo, what they call the demo, the demographic that everybody wants. And now I don't count at all. For me to watch a television show is the same thing as a dead person watching it. I score absolutely nothing as a Nielsen person. All I can say is that seems immensely counterintuitive to me. I have a lot more money now than I did when I was 25 or 30 or 35. As it happens, I don't have children, but a lot of my friends do. Their kids are now out of the house. They're through college. They no longer have to be provided for, and my friends find themselves with this immense disposable income that they are mostly frittering away whimsically on things for themselves. We have a lot of money to spend, and we're spending it. The idea that people our age are downsizing runs against everything I know among me and my friends. It's simply not true. In television, as it happens, there's a lot to suggest that the theories of demographers are not very sound. I don't know if you remember a few years ago, all the TV anchors were shuffling on the network news. They all changed in a period of a year or two. Over at CBS, Bob Schaefer, who's really an old guy, but Bob Schaefer was old enough, no kidding, to have covered the Kennedy assassination, and not as a young reporter either. He's in his 70s, I believe. So Bob Schaefer retired, and to be perfectly fair here, CBS didn't push him out. He wanted to give up the job, and he was replaced by Katie Couric, who was a good 20 years younger than he was. Ratings plummeted. ABC, over at ABC, Peter Jennings died, so they replaced him with a team of people both in their early 40s, Elizabeth Vargas and Bob Woodruff. Ratings tanked, and then Vargas and Woodruff were replaced not so much through their own doing. Elizabeth Vargas, much to her surprise, became pregnant at age 42 and decided she couldn't do that and be a nightly network anchor at the same time. And Bob Woodruff was terribly injured while covering the war in Iraq, so they were both out. And Charles Gibson, who was at that time 65, took over. What happened? Ratings skyrocketed. All those people who have been watching Bob Schaefer on CBS switched over and began watching ABC. Since then, Charlie Gibson has retired, and Diane Sawyer, who's also in her 60s, has taken over. The ratings have stayed high. Even the things I've just told you are kind of obvious to even casual TV viewers, but there's also some very interesting data that is not well known. One of the things that TV producers value a lot is something called the Q score. And actually, it's occurred to me as I say this, you guys know all this stuff. I'm not talking to an audience of butchers and bakers here, right? the exact formula for that Q score is more secret than the formula for Coca-Cola, but essentially it measures audience likability of particular actors. 2 years ago, I did a story on this, and it turns out that the top male actor, the top Q score among male actors belonged to William Peterson, who was the star of CSI, at the time 55 years old. The number 4 guy, at that Peterson was like a little kid next to the number 4 guy, Sam Waterston, who was 67 at the time. The top 3 women in Q score were Mariska Hargitay, who was 44, Mark Helgenberger, who was 49, and Reba McEntire, who was 53. These are not young people. The king and queen of daytime television at that time were Regis Philbin, who was in his 70s, and Judge Judy, a very old 65-ish person whose specialty is being cantankerous. Clearly, age is not a deterrent to audiences. Young people are willing to watch an actor or actress who they think is interesting, funny, and or attractive, and they don't care about the age. But I don't, this is, when I'm in Hollywood talking to producers, they show no conception of this at all. These numbers, even though they're readily available, and you would think TV producers would be all over this, largely unknown. Yeah. I must say that it seems to me this is going to have to change. You've seen some of these numbers now, but essentially there are 80 million baby boomers, and we're getting older every day. We have always been a spoiled and willful group of people. I don't think that's going to change as we get older. We're accustomed to getting what we want, when we want it, which is always now. And I think television is going to have to start catering to us more, like it or not. The one thing I would caution against, though, and that is a kind of grassy knoll approach to this, an idea that it's a conspiracy by Hollywood to keep women down or anything. And the big example I always use when I argue this when I run into people at parties, and incidentally, that's quite a lot of people will say to me, oh, there's no role for older women, goddamn producers. In 2003, I believe it was, CBS aired a show called Presidio Med. It's a medical show set in San Francisco. The 3 stars were Dana Delaney, Anna Devere Smith, and Blythe Danner, all of whom were in their late 40s at the time. It was a great show. Those are 3 magnificent actresses. I am like totally crazy for Dana Delaney and always have been. The lead writer on the show was John Wells, who used to write China Beach, which is one of the most literate television shows ever to have aired. So you've got great acting, you've got great writing, you've got San Francisco as a backdrop, merely the most beautiful city in the world. That show lasted 3 episodes before CBS pulled it because the ratings were abysmal. I'm not talking about the demo ratings, I'm talking about the ratings, period. The number of eyeballs tuned in each week, disastrous. CBS couldn't believe it because they thought it was a great show. It was. All the critics loved it. Not a bad word written about the thing. So they pulled it. They waited till January and they relaunched with an even bigger publicity campaign than the first time. And in January, unlike the fall, they didn't have a whole new schedule demanding attention. So they really put their full publicity machine behind it. And the viewers, of course, had fewer things distracting them too. What happened? 4 episodes, and the show had to be pulled again. That's not producers being sexist or ageist or anything of the sort. It's viewers not responding. And the fact is that Hollywood has always been, to a large extent, about being young and pretty. I don't think that has changed recently, and I'm not sure it's going to change a whole lot in time for it to do us any good here. So on that discouraging, depressing note, you can all go to the bar now.
Thank you.